Staying compliant against multiple regulations from banking to hospitals and governments is very important. Few such regulations are PCI DSS, HIPAA, FedRAMP, etc. There are hundreds of other regulations that Microsoft data centers would like to stay compliant. But staying compliant is not just Microsoft's responsibility. It is also the customer's responsibility to stay compliant. Microsoft Azure provides a service offering called Azure Policy to ensure that you have the right tools to stay compliant. Azure Policy is a service in Azure that will let you use, create, assign, and manage policies. These policies enforce different rules and effects over your resources so that your resources stay compliant with your corporate standards and the service level agreements. The journey of creating and implementing a policy in Azure begins with creating a policy definition. That is the first step. Every policy definition has conditions under which it is enforced. A policy definition expresses what to evaluate and what actions to take. For example, you could prevent virtual machines from being deployed if they are exposed to a public IP address. You could prevent a particular hard disk from being used when deploying virtual machines to control costs. To implement these policy definitions, whether custom or built-in, you will need to assign it to them. A policy assignment is a policy definition that has been assigned to take place within a specific scope. This scope could range from a management group to a resource group. This policy definition needs to be attached as an initiative. Alright, if that's too much to understand and a lot of theory to work on, let's start working on a lab activity. So here's what we're going to do. We'll create a definition so that admins can create a virtual machine, let's say only in a particular region. Let's choose West Europe as a sample. Once the definition is created, we will assign it as an initiative. Then we'll test it to see if I can create a virtual machine in other regions. We'll choose some region in East Asia to create a virtual machine. Then the Azure policy must prohibit us from creating a virtual machine in other regions because we have enforced creation of virtual machines only in Western Europe. And this is done through Azure policy. Let's get started.